We're obsessed with the Connie Fife Show. It's about a lifestyle shift to move up or out.
Hey, what's your jam? What's the one thing that really drives you? What makes you unstoppable?
It's about opening a new door to live your dream.
People give up way too early on their dreams.
It's about enjoying the journey. It's about keeping it real.
Damn, now the interviewee is interviewing the interviewer. I like this.
It's all about you.
I knew there was something else I wanted to do. Stop taking shit so seriously. Y'all can do this. Take an outrageous look at life and laugh.
This is the Connie Fife Show.
We love your voice. We love your jam. You need to be on radio.
And now your host, Connie Fife.
Here she is right now, Angela Cusack, the organization's secret weapon to share horror story.
Well, Connie, I'm going to do a little improv with you today.
Okay.
I'm going to do a little improv. How's that?
Okay. All right, go.
So I'm going to change the story a bit. And we're actually going to talk today about imagining your potential. So we're going to shift a little bit from what Connie offered us to talk about. We're really going to dive in a bit about, so what is it to imagine our potential? I'm a dreamer. I have always been a dreamer from early childhood. Well, at least before I could read. I would devour the pictures in our 1950s Encyclopedia Britannicas. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe you guys don't even know what an Encyclopedia Britannica is. But if you don't, you can go ahead and Google it, or you can just think about Google in a book form. Anyway, as I developed my reading skills, my time with these fascinating books only expanded. I'd sit for hours reading text and subtext. I'd drift off as my imagination just allowed me to wonder, what would it be like if I were on a safari? Or maybe better yet, flying a very strange aircraft. Throwing that elaborate dinner party where every utensil is used. And I do mean all 22 forks. Every day offered for me a different opportunity to explore and to try something new on. Typically, after thumbing through the books, I'm telling you, I would run as fast as I could out our wooden screen door that always closed with a thud, giving away my location. But without any care in the world, I'd scamper over the pig pen fence, through the cow pasture, toward the lower part of our farm, where in summer, acres upon acres of golden wheat stood in the field. I'd stand on that edge of that field, taking in all its beauty. The sights, the smells, the sounds, the feel, the taste in that moment. With the golden wheat firmly rooted in the ground as those spikes danced and danced and danced so spontaneously and with such amazing grace in the gentle breeze. I can recall I moved gingerly at first. I never wanted to damage any of the beauty. But without any warning, my little legs would take off like rockets, and it would carry me deeper and deeper into part of the field where I imagined I could never, ever be found. This spot, this very spot became my safe place to imagine, to improvise, and to play with my potential, my future self, while appreciating the moment I was actually in, until it wasn't. You see, society's narratives tumble upon us fast. We quickly learn sooner rather than later, that there is absolutely no time for daydreaming. For imagining what we might become, there is just no time. We fall into a very heavy slumber, a slumber that I call the drift of doing what is expected. Yeah, of course, we test boundaries, but we only do it to get a reaction. We lose ourselves well before we were ever discovered. standing blindly upon the precipice. What might it have been if we had only had time to play within our dreams, to formulate that way forward before we were swept up and swept away in the world of the expectations of others that eventually may become our own for a lifelong fleeting moment? Because we are all still in the figuring it out stage. And while we're swimming in the vast sea of the unknown, we latch onto that first life preserver that we can find. And we do our best to live out the life someone else wanted for themselves, while they stand by and vicariously live through us. This life never works. But why? Simple answer: because we cannot own what is not ours. Now, we didn't know any better. We simply followed the course that was laid out in front of us by our parents, our teachers, and other family members. We struggled to orient ourselves in the drift, even after we were adults. The imprint of our tribal and traditional and modern upbringing often kept us thinking and acting smaller, so much smaller than we actually are. We model what we've seen while hoping for a better life, which ironically is exactly what our parents hoped for us too. It may sound bleak, but it doesn't have to be. Studies show that those who focus on what lies ahead, rather than relying solely on what is occurring in the moment, often shape lives in ways that make good sense for their future. We all have the ability to remember and recall our dreams from our youth and our young adulthood. These powerful reflections and insights, they're the ones that signal us toward our passion and toward our purpose for being, not away from them. But we only have to stop and listen and reconnect. In fact, very successful CEOs and high-powered corporate executives are known for getting caught in this drift, pushing their way ahead forcefully, yet feeling dissatisfied without knowing exactly why. The swirl of the power and the politics becomes very heavy and, quite frankly, laborious. I see this all the time. Secretly, they tell me that when they're forced to look back, they have to admit that they feel as if they should have achieved more, or even wish that they had chosen a completely different career altogether. And for Emily, a very successful executive vice president at a large manufacturing company who was frustrated with her career progression. From our initial conversation, she was forthright that after her 18-year career, she was tired, wasn't fond of her boss, wasn't sure she really liked her team, and felt like she had nowhere to go. She claimed she has tapped out. Emily was only 48 years old. She felt trapped, unbeknownst to her, by her own perceived limitations. As she and I got to know one another and we talked more and more, she began to wonder if she had become so busy with impressing others that she somehow had lost sight of what really mattered most to her. This sparked an exploration and a rediscovery of what she truly cared about. This took 5 important things. It took curiosity, compassion for herself, courage, commitment, and craft to begin the process of seeing herself as she was in that moment while simultaneously imagining her potential. When we awaken, and let me be clear, not everyone does, from our Wink Van Winkle sleep, we rubber, sleep from our eyes, and we begin to wonder, where has time gone? We wonder if it's even possible. And if it is possible, how can we begin to stop settling and live a life worth living? Trust me, It's a very scary moment when we make this realization. But once we're awakened, we can't go back to sleep. That genie can't be put back in the bottle. Those that follow the steps that I'll share in a moment have learned how to reconnect with themselves, appreciate all they've accomplished while imagining their potential from where they are, while reconnecting with their earlier self and dreams. Here's the good news. It's never too late to begin imagining your potential. It bears repeating. When we act in a way to please other people rather than having a strong sense of self, we are unconsciously seeking happiness and success in all the wrong places. The not so surprising truth is we will not be happy if we achieve someone else's goals on someone else's terms. As Daniel Levinson says, it's not a matter of how many rewards one has obtained. It's actually a matter of the goodness of fit between the life structure and the self. Imagining your potential offers you the opportunity to check back in with whom you dreamt you might be, and to acknowledge and appreciate all the twists and turns that occurred along the way. You might be asking yourself, how do I know if I've already been living up to my potential? Well, I have 6 little questions for you to consider. Number 1, are you intentional with your actions? If it's really important to you, are you making the time now? And yes, I mean waking up early, setting a time aside when you get home, carving time out on the weekend. When was the last time you took a calculated risk to push beyond the expectations you have for yourself? It's simply easy, way too easy to become complacent in life. And nurture will take over if we allow it. Planning and taking calculated risks to go beyond builds courage, confidence, and expands our creativity to imagine our potential in new ways, in different ways. Number 3, do you feel constricted or do you feel free? You fall into bed. How do you notice yourself feeling? When you rise up in the morning, what are your first thoughts, sensations, and awarenesses? The quality of our sleep is an indicator about how satisfied or dissatisfied we are and whether or not you're living up to that potential. Number 4, if you were to fast forward your life just a few decades from now, do you like what you see, given who you are in this moment? It can be easy, very, very easy to get caught up in the everyday necessities of taking care of family and parents, the grocery shopping, running errands, reading emails. And although these tasks are fine, they conveniently push away what is truly important in realizing our potential. So set time aside to be with yourself, to imagine and dream about your potential future. Number 5, how do you look and feel? What does the outside say about the quality of your inside? Consider this. If you're disheveled, out of shape, or fatigued looking, these factors may be reflecting your inner state of mind. A confident person who feels good about things will be more open, shoulders back straight, and solid eye contact. Someone who isn't doing as great, on the other hand, will be more closed, shoulders forward, back hunched, and eyes looking down. How do you look and how do you feel? Number 6, what is your potential? The word potential denotes promise and ability, as if someone can reach great heights if she were to really apply the maximum amount of effort and determination. Yet we all have constraints. All of us, we're human. Yet we possess a great deal of power in how we choose to work within those limitations. Unstoppable and successful entrepreneurs and leaders, they ignite their success by asking themselves these questions regularly, by dreaming and consistently imagining their own potential. They realize that their future self can be more wildly successful than the current one. And thus the reason they spend time imagining what they might become. They develop the ability to construct more vivid, detailed future selves that encourage them to identify more with their future, that pushes them to take on the stewardship of the present while guiding them to attain their goals. Let's consider this. If my left hand is your current self and my right hand is your future self, do you rest here, 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 or do you overlap? Do you notice if your current and future self is far apart? Are they moving closer together and yet closer together still and together until they overlap? I invite you to notice what it is you notice. Where is your current self in relationship to your future self? Those that I identify more closely with that future self plan their life with longer-term payoffs in mind. The research shows they saved more, they did more, and they amassed more wealth. The only conclusion I can make is that envisioning our future self and feeling connected to who we will become, imagining our potential, guides our behaviors in the here and now, and in ways that will create longer-term satisfaction and rewards for the life we long to lead. I took up golf late in life. Yet it was a game that I always been attracted to, a sport that when I was in my 20s, I actually attempted to learn. But my wallet wasn't quite fat enough to allow me for that to happen. But I never lost sight of seeing myself playing the game well, competing against other women who have been playing the game a good portion of their lives. In my short 3 years of the sport, I'm not yet competing, but I am playing. My confidence building with each visit to the driving range and course. I don't see myself as a novice. I see myself as a woman golfer who can hold her own in any golf match. My current self overlaps with my future self. Now, my husband often lovingly, and I do want to say lovingly, laughs at me when he hears me say, which I must admit I frequently do, I have the potential of being really good at this sport. And I say that about a lot of things, including being a successful businesswoman and entrepreneur. But what if you are stuck and you see your current self and your future self far apart? What can you do? Well, begin with acknowledging where you're starting from. The truth is we can only begin where we are. By honoring the present without attachment to the past, all the shoulda, woulda, couldas, mightas that come along with it frees us to discover our passion and our purpose and imagining our potential. Second, be honest with yourself. Honesty reveals the space between that we've been hiding from, overlooking, or simply ignoring because we're caught up in our own drift, our own stories, our own narratives. Likely because we've been way too busy pleasing and impressing others instead of ourselves. The third, be deliberate in the practice of ongoing self-discovery in developing your personal intelligence. Learning to navigate the matrix while challenging your own conventional thinking and way of being is a cornerstone of igniting our own human potential, as well as helping others on their journeys. So we know why it's critically important to imagine your own potential and not live into someone else's dream. You may even have a sense for what imagining a new future might be. But often I'm asked, wow, how do I dive in and create agency here? With this proven framework that I discovered for myself and I now use with my clients, ranging from large corporate and PE firms to C-suite leaders and entrepreneurs to the current generation of leaders, our millennials and our Gen Zs. Yeah, this framework is where I'll make a huge promise. If you are willing to do the work, you will become unstoppable. Step 1 of this framework, reflect and remember. In reflection and remembering what it's like to be in a safe space to imagine your potential. For me, it was when I was a kid in that wheat field. As I got older, I confessed my secrets to my journal, sometimes a dear friend, but ultimately as an adult, I shared it with my coach. I invite you right now to consider this right here, our time together as a safe space. Right now is a perfect time to jump into reflecting and remembering a moment when you had a big, audacious dream, one that was just so incredibly huge, that within it, maybe for the first time, you saw a glimpse of your potential. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to share this with anyone. I'm simply inviting you to step into the matrix where you will discover your true potential for yourself. To fully reflect and reconnect and remember, you must be curious about what you might be and what actually may be lurking in the space between. In your curiosity, allow your entire body to do this work, not just your brain. Curiosity brings excitement and creativity, which is a full body experience. It's fundamental in opening up new worlds and new possibilities. It makes our minds active instead of passive, and it makes our minds more observant of new ideas. Bring both your emotional intelligence as well as your intellectual curiosity out to play. Step 2. Now, this is where it gets a bit more challenging. So grab some compassion for yourself, and some courage to stick with it. This step is not for the faint of heart. Releasing the chatter that's in our head, and you and I both know that what I'm talking about here, those voices that tell us we're not good enough, we are good enough, we aren't smart enough, we should have done it sooner, and so on. Those voices, known affectionately as our inner critics, can at times be our best friends, but more often, they can be our worst enemies, depending on how we engage with them. There are 7 primary critics that sit on our shoulders, and they whisper sometimes nonsense into our ears. See which one of these resonates most with you. And who knows, there may be several. It's these that get in the way of imagining your potential. The perfectionist, the controller, the taskmaster, the underminer, the destroyer, the guilt tripper, and the molder. As we face these critics, we have a choice. We have a choice to constrict, our bodies hunch, our heads down. Or we can sit up, our back straight, our shoulders back. We can take that critic off our shoulders, hold it preciously in our hand, and kick it across the room, while saying, thank you, not today. In the practice of releasing, we have to have compassion for ourselves, the exact same compassion that we have for other people. We're human. And then there's courage. The courage to find our inner compass, to find the invisible force that lives inside, informing our thoughts, our narratives, our hearts, and our actions every single day. Finding our sense of direction and equilibrium is the cornerstone. Without it, you will always be pointing south when you think you are actually pointing north. Know this, you will ebb and flow between step 2 and step 3. Releasing and receiving, releasing and receiving. Receiving, the third step, is the spark of inspiration that signals you to look in a particular direction for your passion and your purpose. Receiving is where you'll find your inner compass. You'll move the needle toward the north. It'll invite you to notice how far you've come, to celebrate your accomplishments, yet be humbled by them. And in this moment, begin to wonder and imagine, now where are you to go? From this spot, where do I imagine my potential taking me? I took these same 3 steps when I made the decision to leave the corporate environment after 25 years. I was an accomplished exec with lots to be proud of, but I was dissatisfied. After waking up from my own Wink Van Winkle moment, I asked myself, where did the 20-year-old girl go? Where did all her hopes and dreams drift off to? And then I had to wrestle with my own Beowulf, my critics, both internal ones and external ones. But when I did, I got the inspiration to walk away from it all with a very loose plan and a lot of trust in my experience, accomplishments, and knowing that I had this deep desire to ignite success in others, a lofty goal, but one I'm living and doing every day. So you can too. The final step is just what I'm pointing to here, reclaiming your potential. The one that got lost in doing more, being more, and living less of who you truly are. Because you see, once you claim, as I did, as thousands of executives, entrepreneurs, and teams have, you too will not only craft a plan to imagine your potential, you will step fully into it. And once you do, there's no turning back. The genie is out of the bottle. As we progress in our life, our dreams will evolve. We might realize that an inspiration and aspiration we once had is no longer realistic, or maybe we even question the things we previously wanted. These changes are a normal part of growing older. Our perception shifts. Our potential yearning to grow in a new way shows up. An important point I need to make here. There is a huge difference between growing up and giving up. It's true, we all have our limits, but it doesn't mean we have to settle for the status quo. It also doesn't mean staying still in one place simply because it's the safest course. You have a responsibility to yourself, to those you love, to those you work alongside, to this world, to imagine your potential and move in that direction. If you allow the limits, they will limit you, and you'll never achieve peak performance. So what are your limits? What is the highest you can reach? These are questions that only you can figure out and answer. But my advice for you, for imagining your potential, for igniting your success and being unstoppable, is to dream big. Believe deeply in yourself and your potential. Sail forward and catch yourself. Celebrate often and make the magic you are meant to make. It's been a pleasure being with you all. I'm Angela Cusack.
Angela Cusack, the organization's secret weapon.
That's what I've been told, Connie. That's what I've been told.
I know. Woohoo! I know you talked about doing a little improv at the beginning, but my ears went dead.
Even better. I mean, life is about being a good improver, right?
Right.
So we did
improv. So yeah, that was our improv. I can't talk to you. I gotta go. So I've been plugged in this whole time. Again, for entrepreneurs listening to this, Angela was in corporate, made the decision to move out of corporate to become an entrepreneur. Now, entrepreneur life isn't for everyone. And you've heard today from just about everyone where it is a challenge. Kevin said, like, just throw yourself on a bit of rose thorns. Yeah, sometimes it feels that way, but you know what? And I know Angela can attest to this. At the end of the day, it's yours, and it's what you've worked for, and it's what you thrive for, and that's really what makes it all worth it. Angela, am I missing something there? I mean, how do you feel that you've moved from corporate, like myself, to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I find that being an entrepreneur can live inside the confines of our corporate structures. It's a matter about how we approach our work, the mindset that we have, how we want to be in the conversation, right? So we can arrive at our destination in that environment. It's a matter of recognizing and knowing, is this the environment for me? And for me, for 25 years, it was. And then it wasn't. So having the courage to step out, right? To go beyond what I thought was even possible. Because look, Connie, I thought I was going to start selling shoes. If somebody had said I was going to start my own business, I mean, people will tell you. Like,
I thought I was going to be Thelma and Louise in my next career.
Right. Exactly.
I know. And like with me, I didn't make that choice. I thought I would have been in corporate until I was dirt, because I did really, truly enjoyed and loved what I did. Yeah. And then when I lost my position, I was crushed. So there's so many different ways to do it. But once that happened, I started looking at it differently. And I said, well, wait a minute, I could do this. I could start my own business and do this. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of bumps along the way. But the key is, the critical thing is that you just need to keep moving forward. And you use a lot of analogies in your message today. And I just want to thank you, Angela, for being here. And again, Angela Cusack is available to be a keynote speaker at your next event. Find out about her availability. Just head over to talentconcierge.co, where our team are there to invite you in and work with you and get Angela on your calendar. Hey y'all, it's Connie Fife. Thank you for listening to the Connie Fife Show. Check back often. You don't want to miss any of the good stuff. If you like what you hear and would like to be a guest on the show, head over to theconniefifeshow.com to apply. While you're there, check out our amazing advertising opportunities that will put you right in front of your perfect client. I will see you over there. Do yourself a favor this week, activate your power, and be unstoppable together.